But this is how I protest the war. In America, I have volunteered with the USO to visit wounded soldiers at the hospitals in the Washington, D.C. area, the Bethesda Naval Medical Hospital and the Walter Reed Army Medical Hospital. The first time I did it, I'm standing outside the door of a young man who requested my presence. And I said, okay, so what am I dealing with when I go through the door? And they said, well, the soldiers like to tell you about their injuries, so it's okay to say, how did that happen? They love to tell the story. And the guy's name is something something. He's in there with his mother. I said, okay, well, what's the injury? He said, sir, we don't know. All we know is he's injured. He requested a visit. Are you ready? I said, well, no, I have another kid. Open the door and shoved me in. And you just have to make up what you're going to say. You have to assess the situation, go, okay, I'm going to do this. And you can't get it wrong, because otherwise you could really bump some people out. So I walk and I'm shoved into this door, my first person, and I see a guy sitting in bed. His arm is in a cast, but it's more than like a broken arm. It's like there's pins and there's wires and strings that's kind of floating in space, and it looks like a very painful thing. So I said, hey, man, I'm Henry, and he said, I'm so-and-so. I said, great, that's the mom. Meet the mom. How do you do, ma'am? So I said, hey, man, what happened? And he said, well, I'm not too sure. We got hit with something. I flew through the air and landed and got up, and I looked down, and I saw my arm on the ground. No one has ever said that to me in my life. I was like, with all due respect, fuck. He's like, no kidding. I said, then what did you do? He said, I walked over and picked it up. And then he finished that, and he said, I recognized it. And I have no reason to lie to this guy. I went, stop tape. Do you realize how insane what you just said was? He went, yeah, that is pretty weird. I go, when have you ever had to recognize your own arm? Line up the arms, please. Sir, do you recognize any of those arms? Number 6, that's mine. And so he picked up his own arm, and I said, then what'd you do? He goes, I don't know. I passed out, and I woke up here. So I guess he started bleeding, and he woke up in Walter Reed. They've reattached the arm. And I looked down at his legs. He had these amazing scars on his legs, both the same one on either side. And I go, what's that? And he said, it's they pull nerve bundles from each leg, and they put them in my arm, hoping for mobility and sensation. And I said, are you going to play golf again? And he said, well, we'll know when I do physical therapy. And so I said, well, you know, I think you're going to be fine. You'll be fencing by spring. And so we said goodbye, and I come out, and she goes, okay, how was that? I said, that was really intense. She goes, okay, are you ready for the next one? I went, no. She goes, great, here we go. And so you go room after room after room, and you see the power and efficiency of an improvised explosive device. The shrapnel just really, it does its thing. The guts tend to stay intact because of the vests, but the arms and legs just seem to just go right off them. I come out of these hospitals with an anger that's so huge and so clear. I don't know what to do with it. It's like trying to take the Hindenburg and put it in your back pocket. It won't fit. I'm like, because what do you do? Who do you write a letter to? What do you do? Grab the president and like shake him by his lapels? Do you see what you did? It's like leading a dog back to the crap it took in the corner. Look at that. And the dog goes, yeah, I know, it's mine. What? And if you said to any of these masters of war, these awful people, look what you're doing to these kids, they kind of go like, there's Islamo-fascists all over the world. We have to fight them there, so we don't have to fight them here. And we don't want the smoking gun to turn into a mushroom cloud. I'm like, I'm so sick of this shit. So I keep signing up for more and more and more visits. And I did one recently where I was walking down the hallway with my clipboard and all the names I have to see, and a woman comes out of a room. And she says, excuse me, you look familiar. I said, moi? Oui. She said, come here. And I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, look at this photo. And I go into this little hospital room, and I look up on the wall, and there's a photo of me standing next to a soldier. And I said, yep, that's me, short, gray, and angry. And the guy I'm standing next to is a big, handsome hunk of a man. And I said, is that the guy in the picture? And there's a guy in a hospital bed in the semi-fetal position. He's got a diaper on. His hands are gnarled. One eye's looking that way, one eye's looking that way, and he's drooling. She said, yep, that's him. I said, oh, okay. What's his name and what happened? She said his name, and she said 40% of his brain was removed, you know, head trauma. I said, okay, well, at least he's got 60% of it. You know, I say never say die. So I go back to the guy, and I go, hey, man, how you doing? And he looks up, his eyes focus, And he smiles and he says my name. And I'm like, he remembers me. I'm like, you remember me. So I got to figure out my angle immediately. What am I going to do? I'm going to fuck with him. Motherfucker. He's like, huh? You thought you could get away from me, didn't you? I'm your #1 fan and chief stalker. We did a photo, and you snuck away from me. I've been searching for you up and down hallways of airports, through weddings, bar mitzvahs, and social events, disco parties and raves, and up and down the linoleum-lined hallways of Walter Reed Army Medical Hospital, and ha! I found you! Are you ready for photo op #2 or what? Big smile across his face. He goes, yeah. I said, move over. I'm coming in. So I kind of get in bed with this guy, and the mom is like, oh my God, who's this maniac with my son? USO woman comes in. I'm like elbowing this guy out of his bed, and she's like, oh no, we're all going to get sued. I said, get your cameras out. And I said, all right, in this photo, we're breaking out of here. And we're both like, ah! We did all these really fun photos. And I walked out and I took one last look at that adult diaper and one last look at this amazing woman, his mother. And I wondered if she put that diaper on him. And I wonder if she's going to be putting the diaper on her child, her big, strong son, for the rest of his life and the rest of her life. And when you see the pain that this war is extolling upon all these good people, it makes me realize, at least, it's more than just the injury. I mean, that this guy is really, really badly injured. And so everyone who knows him feels bad. The girl he might have married or was going to marry, that plan has changed. If he had kids, that is now a whole new day. And the pain and the misery radiates outwards. And I know here in Israel, all of you have a friend, have seen this, have smelled it, have walked by it. This happens in this country. People blow up. People don't stop killing. Saying that, I beg of you to right the wrongs. I would not dare to insult you or the situation by saying, sit down with someone over yonder you're having a dispute with and hug and kiss and play Ramones albums, it'll all be better. Because if it was that simple, it would have been done 50 years ago. All I'm saying is this, not trying to lay a guilt trip on you, but I think I'm right about this. You have a problem with Palestine or Lebanon, and I'm not trying to like tie it up into a little tiny bundle and go, yeah. I'm just saying there's problems, and kids keep dying, and people keep getting blown up, and it's just awful, it's ghastly, you know this. I'm not saying it's your fault. All I'm saying is, if you do not stop it, all of you will have beautiful children. Some of you have them already. They will inherit the war you did not stop. And when they become soldiers and they go into combat and they come home with some awful story, they're going to say, yeah, I saw my buddy get vaporized. Why are we doing this? And the only honest answer you'll really be able to say is, because I didn't stop this. Because I didn't stop this on my watch. It should have been me and my generation who stopped this shit so you would not have to endure this horror. Your parents gave you this one. Don't give it to your kids, is all I'm saying. Real substantive change comes from citizens, from private citizens going, not on my watch, you don't. And I'm not saying to get up and do something. I'm begging you to get up and do something, because if you don't get up and do something, it doesn't get done. Where I come from, I use my anger to go out and get shit done. And if you don't get really pissed about it, it won't change. And all of you, I'm sure, are really nice people. But you must find your anger and your outrage and your dissatisfaction lurking somewhere in you. And some of you, you're like 90% dissatisfaction and anger. You go like, it's right here. There's a lot of you who are like, no, man, I don't have any of that in me. I'm cool. I like everyone. I like animals. I like kids. I like everybody. I'm not an angry person at all. You're barking up the wrong tree. I disagree. I think if you really love your country and you really love humanity, you got to be pissed about something. It's like going through the ashes trying to find the ember. It's in there. And you have to dig down deep inside, find it, and extract that jewel of rage and use it for civic good. I have found mine. If you have not found yours yet, please find it before it's too late. No big pressure here. Either get eaten by a crocodile or save the world. Shalom, good night.